This episode of The Modern Rogue is brought to you by NordVPN.
Head on over to nordvpn.com/rogue. Spell it right, R-O-G-U-E. Use promo code ROGUE at checkout. Get a huge discount on 2 years of service, plus an extra month free. I hope that was in the offer because I said it.
It was.
If you've got the surveillance van, out across the street, then they probably do know about that.
Jason Murphy, there's all these ideas that we have, and sometimes they're adorable and cute, and we're making campfires in the backyard, and then we bring in an expert who knows how to make a nice campfire or whatever, and then all of a sudden, we're talking to cybersecurity experts who are legitimate contractors who work at the highest levels, allegedly, of the government. What have you brought into my home?
He's one of the good guys, right? You're one of the good guys?
He's wearing a black shirt!
Okay, this is Sean Byram, cybersecurity engineer.
Yes.
Who may or may not have done things for unnamed government operations.
How many letters? How many letters in the operation?
Is an alphabet
Yeah,
group 3.
Okay. So when you're in mixed company, in polite company, how do you describe what it is that you do?
I'm a security engineer. That can be a solutions architect, cybersecurity engineer, security engineer. There's many different titles. None of them are particularly descriptive.
Can you get those little bastards that are wall sniping me on Call of Duty?
I cannot.
He's not a bot killer.
He's not, because they got an aimbot and I know they're doing it.
So Sean is here to, number one, make us very afraid and then hopefully make us less afraid, all under the umbrella of counter-attribution, which is a phrase, as I say it, I still don't know exactly what this is or what it means.
You approached me about this 4 years ago and I was like, I don't know what that is, go away.
It's been a while.
Yeah, so tell us, what is counter-attribution?
So attribution, to begin with, is when an activity is tied to a particular actor, whether that's the name of a person or a code name that you may have for them.
Online?
Yes.
They can do that.
Yes.
Of
So
course I mean,
I'll be back.
No,
I gotta.
You already know this.
Where's the lighter fluid?
He's talking about like Edward Snowden stuff, where it's like he's putting a blanket over his head to type his password because he's afraid of being specifically found out. That would be attribution, right?
Sure. And so counter-attribution are the various tools, techniques, and procedures that we can use to avoid attribution, to avoid our activities, our actions online being tied back to either us or being tied back to a profile that has been built on us.
Okay. You were telling me that there were like 2 different types generally of surveillance.
Yes. You have mass and you have targeted. Mass surveillance.
It's mass and energy, but that's fine.
Yeah, she's right. He got you there.
I know.
Got you there, smart guy.
No, targeted, I'm gonna assume, is there is a particular actor, let's say the Edward Snowden situation, where it's like they're looking for a specific person, whereas mass would be advertisers or people who fit a profile, maybe for terrorism or something?
Yes, and it's not always malicious. Whether it's a website or whether it's your ISP, they might have very good cause to collect logs, to collect information about you so that they can make their services more efficient, so that they can avoid bots using their services that might be trying to cause them harm. There's lots of good reasons for them to be conducting that surveillance, but sometimes we don't want them to anyways.
So I guess the surprise that is occurring to me just now is that the methods to fight against mass attribution are going to be different than specific targeted attribution.
Yes. There are techniques that we can use that will protect against one or the other. There are some that protect against both. There's a lot there to work with.
And the reasons you wouldn't want people to have all of your data is that you can potentially be manipulated. Like it was boasted by Cambridge Analytica that they have 5,000 points of data on every single American. And if they have all of that data on you, they can manipulate you in both blatant and subtle ways.
Yes. Advertising campaigns,
voting,
political propaganda.
Well, and I think that's the part that I worry more about. I'm not worried about being targeted as a human being. It's fairly apparent, like, hi, hi, I'm Brian, a public figure. It's not very hard to find me. But I worry about, as I think of it, being bubbled. Like my least favorite thing is when I go to Google News and it feeds me all these stories that are very clearly like, okay, I get it. You know I like Rick and Morty. Stop feeding me this. That's not the center of my world, and I don't want to make it the center of my world. I'm afraid of becoming one of those people whose information diet is consumed and shaped by an entity outside of my control.
Cool. I'm afraid of getting arrested. Oh, I mean, what? No. Is my mic on right now?
When you go to the news, it just is a list of things that you shouldn't be doing every day. Maybe.
I feel you.
Yeah. I mean, background checks.
Well, I guess that's the big question is how scared should we be and of what?
So the average person probably doesn't have too much terribly to worry about. The average person can probably get away with a consumer off-the-shelf solution, VPN, something like that. Somebody who is running malware on their machine, somebody who's researching topics that they may not want their ISP to see them researching, that sort of person needs a little bit extra. Somebody who is actively performing, let's say, less than legal activities, either on behalf of a criminal organization or a government agency. That person absolutely needs the maximum.
I don't know why you
what
looked
can
at
be
me
done.
when you said that, because that's crazy. Why don't you just look at that? Was funny. That's a good one. But
This is the part where I always like to reel it back in, because there are times that having a certain attitude or a certain belief is going to be politically unpopular, possibly illegal if you happen to be in certain countries. Something that here in the West we would think of as a nothing progressive belief might be cause for a beheading somewhere else, in which point you would probably want to be very, 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 very careful.
so what are some of the solutions for counter-attribution and what we'd use them for?
So there's a few VPNs we can talk about first.
Oh, we know that one. As we have been talking about it, this is the part where you reveal that we're idiots and don't know what we're saying. But VPNs are basically...
You're invisible completely to everyone, right?
No, don't you say that.
No?
It's overstated.
Freaking out here, man.
It's basically every single word at the computer level is encrypted and then gets decrypted. It's not just the encryption, it's also the fact that not even your own ISP knows what you're saying. Is that right? Am I at least that part right? Your own IT manager?
For the most part. So the thing that a VPN is really good for is protecting you against some of that very base level mass surveillance. And mass surveillance is a very scary word, but like I said before, most of it is with good intentions. They need to collect some amount of information just to make sure their infrastructure runs right. But what a VPN is really good for is just making absolutely sure that your data is encrypted to some level of standard, right? And that helps keep your ISP from knowing what sites you're visiting, the exact addresses that you're going to.
This is the part I'm always telling people. It's like, yeah, they don't know what you're saying, but they know what addresses you're going to. There was definitely a time I called tech support and they're all like, yeah, it looks like everything's fine. You went to this website, that website, and the other website just a few minutes ago. And I was like, nope. And then on top of that, when I signed up for whatever I'll call it, AT&T said, we have two prices. One is with custom ads where we watch everywhere you go and give you targeted ads, and that's a lower price. Or you could pay more money and we won't do that. I'm like, how about that? How about I pay even more money and you don't get to know anything and you serve me generic ads across the board?
One of the issues with a lot of the claims around VPNs is that a lot of the protection it's giving you, for example, is afforded to you just by using HTTPS and a modern browser which is updated.
Correct. And a lot of people want to scaremonger by saying like, hackers are gonna steal your banking information. But you're right, as long as you see that lock on there, that means, hey, it's encrypted point to point. However, your router knows that which bank you're banking at. I want none of that. I like my VPNs.
One of the other problems with a VPN is that you can have something called DNS leak. And that is where, without going too in the weeds on it, is where information can leak out through ports you may not be aware even exist.
I tried to tell Brian his DNS was leaking just the other day, and he was just like, no, it's not, it's fine. He looked around, he's like,
I told him it was the fashionable thing among teenagers these days.
Yeah, I don't think that's true at all.
A DNS leak is what? The broadest strokes, what is it?
The broadest possible stroke is that with a DNS leak, even if you're using a VPN, and even if your VPN thinks it's doing everything right, some of your your information can still go out to a malicious entity, or to your ISP, or to anyone. The foolproof way around that is to have a firewall. And what you can do with a firewall is absolutely ensure that your packets are only going to and coming from a list of particular addresses.
Whitelists.
Basically,
Yes. So-
a firewall is what, like a bouncer? You never speak directly past. Instead, you walk up to the bouncer and you're like, hey, that's my friend so-and-so, will you let him know? He's like, and he nods, and then he gives whatever version he wants to give of what you just said. Is that right?
Exactly. The best bouncer you'll ever find.
Yeah! Sounds like a superhero bouncer.
Yes.
It's me, Firewall.
And you mentioned whitelists. Whitelists are far more effective than blacklists. So a whitelist is a list of approved addresses. A blacklist is a list of disapproved addresses.
Gotcha.
If you are working with a list of addresses that you know are safe, then you are much more likely to be able to nail that down.
Sounds like the equivalent of opt-in versus opt-out, where
Right.
it's just like everybody, the answer is no, unless you're on the list. Again, we're back to the bouncer, right? Everybody does not get in unless you're on this list,
Yes.
instead of just, well, you're on the naughty list.
Okay, so we've got VPN and firewall. What else?
So the next thing you can do is key-based layered routing. And what
Gesundheit.
it's a mouthful, and you've definitely heard of a tool that uses it, which is much shorter, Tor.
Oh, of course. The onion router. Yeah.
Yes. And so the onion router is really just a tool that uses onion routing. It is not the only tool. You can build your own. In fact, I highly recommend it. Tor is open source.
I did like 2 of them this morning. Yeah, but
I ate an onion.
yeah.
So what that does is it packs in layers around your packets, layers of encryption which get stripped off at various nodes in the network, right?
So this reduces the possibility that because nothing is being encrypted at just one place, it's being encrypted at multiple places. That means it can't be decrypted just at one place. You have to go through all the layers, is that right?
What key-based layered routing is really good at is against mass surveillance, as before. Where it really starts to struggle is against targeted surveillance. It'll give you time against targeted surveillance, but Tor is not a magic bullet. It will not protect you from an advanced adversary who's out to get you.
So this is back to the Snowden problem. It's like Edward Snowden is not worried in this moment about getting a targeted ad. He's worried about freaking strike team showing up, right?
It's not the NSA that got him, it was Facebook.
Yeah.
Well, and Tor, for example, is very susceptible to something called a timing attack. So if you're looking at the entry node and you're looking at the exit node, even if the information is encrypted and you can't get past that, if you see information go in at A that is X size and come out at B that is also X size, and you look at the physical distance between those points and analyze how long it would take a packet to get from A to B, you can determine with frightening accuracy that A was B
So
and correlate.
In
that
this
way.
case, you'll need 2 known entities. Somebody who looks like Brian Brushwood with a goatee goes into a shopping mall exactly 30 seconds before somebody who looks like Brian Brushwood with a goatee comes out of a shopping mall, and you are able to, with regularity, see that over and over and over again. You're like,
Yes.
yeah, pretty sure we know who this is.
Right, and if you're an advanced adversary who is monitoring the known list of exit nodes and entry nodes for Tor, then you can pretty reliably determine who is doing what, who is going where, even if you're not able to read those packets.
What if Brian has a mullet?
Against that, no defense. But in this case, what is the counter move against that? I guess you mentioned homebrewing your own onion router.
So homebrewing your own is certainly an option if you have the luxury of a botnet which you've cultivated over a decade or more, you know, leaving thumb drives out in parking lots for people to install malware on their machines.
I mean, not on purpose.
Right. The other option that you have is something called garlic routing. And garlic routing is very similar to onion routing, but basically what you do is you cluster those clumps of encrypted data. So instead of layering something up like an onion, you take multiple other packets and also layer those like onions, different sizes, clump them together, send them in.
And some of it's just trash.
Right.
It's almost like digital chaff in
Yes.
a way.
And what that does is wonders at fighting against timing attacks, because you can't quite so easily correlate A and B because they're of different sizes. And there's no way to be able to say, this is how big it was, because it's all clumped together like that.
And I would imagine the more safe you get, the slower your experience is getting.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Suddenly it takes forever just for an email to get from point A to point B.
Yeah, that is certainly a sacrifice you're going to be willing to make if the risk is high enough.
Sure.
What else do we have?
So the next big thing, and now we're starting to get into the more complicated stuff that is harder to think about, lots of rabbit holes and tangents
it's
we
real
can go
simple
down.
up until here. I was waiting for you to get to
The next big thing to think about is machine data. And this is where we have an absolute nightmare spaghetti noodle nest of problems which arise. Here we're looking at pattern analysis of your typing.
Okay, so they have a data set of millions of people typing, and they know how millions of people type, and they can pinpoint, oh, this person over here is like one of the people typing in this million of sets. So we're pretty sure this is Brian and how he types.
And there's little behavioral things. Like, for example, of all the people on planet Earth, there's probably some number of them that never sit down and don't just left, right on the mouse to wake up the screen or whatever. Like, if that data is available, then that's going to help create a profile of your actions, your behaviors.
That's actually similar to what they did in World War II. They were able to figure out, just based on Morse code styles, if it was an Axis or Ally. Even with telegrams in the 19th century, they were able to figure out patterns that you would use on the telegrams and say, oh, this is Brian sending this. He doesn't have to tell me. I can tell by how long he holds down the final beat in Y.
Well, and that's something from, even with the marketing emails or whatever, you could kind of tell the voice that I'm writing in. It's like certain emails sound like Brian wrote them, and others of them sound like, an automated robot sent them out. So I assume it's more of the same, right?
Yes, very much so. But also not even necessarily just the choice of words, which you might be talking about when you talk about the emails that you're writing, but physically the timing pattern of when you're hitting keys on a keyboard.
That's one of those things that I always thought, like those CAPTCHAs that just say, click the button that says, I'm not a robot, I always thought was the dumbest thing until I realized, no, a human is gonna move the mouse in a different way than a robot will.
And a human needs to move a mouse.
Correct.
A robot can just click the button.
In
it
which
doesn't
case,
need a mouse.
It might as well announce I'm a robot, yeah.
Nice. What else?
So the next thing in machine data is just all of the general ways in which we personalize our machines, right? So the software you have installed, the wallpapers.
I got a big Motley Crue sticker on the side of my case.
I'm sure that's what
Don't
they're
think
looking
they
at.
know about that. They might.
Well, they should, because it's boss.
We've also got like the language packs on your machine, like what language do you speak? What time zone is set on your machine? That's a big one.
Fonts.
Right.
These are all things that your browser freely tells any website that it visits, or?
No, not necessarily. So interacting with a browser, that browser is only going to be able to capture the information that you're giving to it, right? The information that's interacting with it. But if your machine has been compromised, and this is more that targeted surveillance I was talking about, if somebody has compromised your machine, then they're going to be able to collect potentially anything, and that includes language, time zone, all of these things. And that can be used extremely reliably to nail down just who you are. And even if it can't, it at least paints a very good picture for them to build a profile off of.
Wow. Like, let's say if you're using Chrome and you've got, a Hearthstone trainer extension
All right,
or something like that.
I see where this is going. Ignore this, man.
All right, what's next?
So after machine data, the next big thing we have to worry about is user activity. And this is often the hardest one to train. People are stupid. That's a big problem.
I don't know why he's looking right here the whole time.
Uncool.
Yeah. Humans are definitely habitual. We have our patterns that we do.
But for example, a little anecdote I like to tell is on a particular network that I have built out, I have seen at least one user on their personal Amazon account shopping on this government enterprise counter-attribution network.
Wow.
When people do something every day, they become lax, they become careless, People make mistakes.
Okay, yes, there's a billion different ways. There's our habits, there's our technology, there's all these things that it's very, very hard to obfuscate. But the thing that I hold on to is the fact that you reminded us right at the beginning that not everybody's looking for you specifically. A lot of people are looking for you demographically. What can anybody do to protect themselves, or how much should they be doing?
Right, so it really depends on what you're trying to do. What's your mission, right? So for example, if you're just somebody who's concerned about their privacy, or maybe you're worried about geo-locked content, you can really be just satisfied with an off-the-shelf VPN solution, maybe a firewall to enforce that.
You could see the two of us visibly relaxed.
Yeah, I'm like,
But what if you are somebody that feels like you're being individually targeted? Somebody who is, I don't know, on the run or being possibly persecuted or what have you?
And you don't even necessarily need to be personally persecuted. If you're, for example, a security researcher who's running malware on their machine, and you don't want the people who've designed that malware to find out who is investigating them, then you need to do several of the things we talked about. You need to have that VPN, you need to be using Tor or something like it, you need to be using something that protects against machine data, you need to be going the whole 9 yards.
one simple solution that we know of that we've done before is getting Tails on a USB drive and taking it to a library.
And for two different reasons. If you run off of a USB drive, then it's a completely individual instance of everything. You're not giving away any machine data, hopefully, I guess.
Right.
And the fact that you're at the public library, by the way, also make sure to wear like a Groucho Marx disguise or something, because there's gonna be security cameras around on all of that. That's the only way to...
Or maybe you're afraid of a virus. Just put your mask on.
Oh, yeah, that works too. Oh man,
You don't even look suspicious.
why was anybody against masks?
I know.
All
Masks
these
are
hackers.
wonderful.
Yeah. Okay, what are all the things people should be doing right now to learn more of your wisdom?
So I help organize the Washington, D.C. chapter of DEF CON. You can find us at 202.codes. You can find me on Twitter at @/Corinthian.
Right on, dude. As is our continuing quest, I'm more paranoid than ever.
I'm gonna go get the thermite and pour it all over my laptop
I'm
and
gonna
my
go
phone.
dig
My
a
job is
hole
done here.
and crawl into it. Bye.
Make room for me.
No, you'll never find me. Congratulations, Jason Murphy. You're the first contestant on Modern Rogue's original game show. Is it okay?
I didn't study.
Question number 1. Is it okay to, as you surf the internet at your local Starbucks, to loudly shout out and annoy everybody with what website you happen to be on?
No?
Show me no. You're right.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
I got it.
Jason Murphy, is it okay to walk into someone's house, sit down, use the restroom, and leave the door open?
Oh, no, I know this one, no.
Show me no. Hey, 2 for 2.
Woo!
All right.
Okay.
Jason Murphy, for all the money in all of the worlds, not just this one, but every branch of the multiverse, is it okay to just, have unencrypted Wi-Fi connection? Just be lazy about your security, not really care who's paying attention, everybody looking and seeing where you're going?
Show me.
Whether
What
or
are
not-
you, an animal?
What did it say? I actually don't know.
It's-
This was all a bit because I'm actually, this is something I've really wrestled with. Is it okay?
Oh.
I don't know morally if it's okay.
No. Morally, you have to protect yourself. You have to get a VPN.
Yeah?
One with thousands of servers
Like
and over
5,600 plus.
Yeah, in 59 different countries. One where they do not keep any logs because it's none of their business.
Oh, yeah, like where it's in a country with no extradition treaty, so they can't get you
Yes.
even, not that you're doing anything wrong, but they can't get you. Something with best of breed encryption.
And that you can use on multiple devices.
Ooh.
Okay, I'm gonna do it again. Show me NordVPN.
Of course! But the question is, how do I make sure to get a great value and support the show while I get a VPN?
Go to nordvpn.com/rogue, use promo code ROGUE and get a huge discount on a 2-year plan with 30 days money back guarantee.
Yeah, we were so close. I feel like you almost convinced me. I mean, can you just throw in one extra free month if I use that promo code?
Yes, I will. They will. We will. Together.
It's not up to you. Show me yes. Hey!
We win.
No, you win.
Offer and link in the description below.
And so the Onion router, it is not the only tool. You can build your own. In fact, I highly recommend it. Tor is open source.
I did like 2 of them this morning. Yeah, but
I ate an onion.
yeah, just like an apple. It's gross. Not even making that up. Keep going.
I like yellow onions. I used to eat them like apples.
You guys are weird.